You might be here because you've been sensing that the world feels louder, heavier, or more disorienting lately. And if so, this conversation is going to ground you in a way that most spiritual and energetic content doesn't. This conversation with Asterian astrologer and agora Jade S goes far beyond predictions or philosophy. This is about remembering your path, understanding why kindness, devotion, and self trust matter more than ever right now, and what happens when you stop chasing identities and start living from truth. Jade opens up about his past and his path in a way that he never has on any other show, and I'm so grateful that he did. This episode might shock you, and that's the point. We explore the difference between spiritual seeking and real devotion, how ego quietly derails growth, and why longing, not perfection, is the doorway home. Watch to the end and you'll walk away clearer about who you are, why you're here, and how to move forward without abandoning your humanity or your heart. This episode feels like a coming home and a recalibrating. Let's get into it. Hi, Jade. Welcome back, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me back. I've been so excited to come back.
Yeah, we always have such a great time, and we have our
Yes, we
intentions
do.
of what we're going to talk about. We're definitely going to do some 2026 predictions. It was so fun when we did that at the end of 2024 for 2025 and posting clips as those predictions happened, the earthquakes, the floods, so many different things. So it'll be really interesting and fascinating to hear what comes up. But before we do that, I know you just got back from Japan and we were chatting offline for a little bit and I didn't get to hear yet how that was. I went to Joshua Tree and I was there while you were in Japan. So we missed each other.
Yeah, Japan was was I've been to India 34 times, and India is my spiritual home. And I think I'd have to say that India, especially the agoric side of India, being with my teacher Bal Kulturi, highest energy I've ever experienced was in India. But Japan had something I've never really ran into, and I put Japan now as one of my top 3 greatest trips anywhere. I have to put the trip, I had trips in India where my Kundalini was going up. I was inside of Kali temples, like punching my legs because the Kundalini was going so strongly through my spine just to feel grounded. I've had trips like that. So they have to take priority over other trips. But I felt myself in Japan. I was born with the name Jade. That's not a made up name. And I could see why when I was there, and it was so powerful that, I'm born under the star of Hades, that when I was in Japan, I'm like, I've got to look up the chart of Japan. I've never looked up the chart of Japan before, and it's a Hades. And what made it so interesting is Japan and its various different birth dates go all the way back to 600 BC. It's always been born under Hades. It's always had a new incorporation date of Hades. So that sign is dominant in that city, the elephant energy. So, like if you came to my house in Joshua Tree and if you had 20 bags in your car, you're going to sit down in my house. I'm getting every single one of those bags. My nature is like that. I mean, my nature is, how do I solve problems? How do I make the situation I'm in easier? And that's an important thing to me as a personality is I'm the type, how do I solve problems? How do I make situations better for me, for everybody else? So, I was in Japan for various reasons. I'm there with 3 80-pound bags because I'm bringing not just clothes, I'm bringing other things too. And so we have a driver, and he comes, and he's this 80-year-old man. And he starts grabbing my bags. I'm like, hey, no, let me grab the bags. And he gives me a little fun slap on the wrist. No, this is my job. I'm getting those bags.
That's right.
And he makes me sit back, and I watch this 80-year-old man picking up bags that are heavier than him. And he won't let me help him. And he puts them in. I'm like, that's so funny. That's so my nature. This was right away when I get off the plane. Like, that is so me. That made me laugh. And I have had other people in the past tell me, wow, you really remind me of an Asian guy. And in your nature, like if you walk in my home, there's that part of me, like we're all these enlightened divine beings. All of us are. And I see that divinity in every single person. I don't care what walk of life they are. We're all these human beings trying to find our way in the world. in a world that's not easy. That's who we are. And so you come to my house, you're going to be honored as a god or a goddess. And that is just the way that I see that. I don't care what stage someone's at. I don't care how young they are spiritually. We are all going to get God realized, whether we like it or not. We all realize our divinity. We're just on different stages of that. So people get honored around me. And it's been one of these things where this is a very sensitive issue. I have had a lot of problems in this life for being overly friendly, overly kind, overly compassionate. I won friendliest in high school twice. That's elephant energy. Okay, that's elephant energy.
Yeah.
I saw that all over Japan, where every situation we're in, I was there during Mercury retrograde. I was there during a Category 4 storm. I was expecting kind of a little bit of a harder trip. And I collectively saw people consistently sacrificing themselves to make situations easier. And we're in tough situations, and everyone collectively was working towards how do we make the situation better? And I saw myself all over it on a humanistic level. And I sunk into that energy. I had never felt at home in my humanness. Again, I've had incredibly high trips spiritually in India, but the humanness of Japan really had an effect on me. And so when our trip was over and I got on that plane to get back to the United States, and I started sitting down with Westerners, and you see the problems coming up, you see the issues coming up on a plane. I just started to miss Japan, and I hadn't even left yet.
Wow.
And when I got back to the United States and I acclimated back to our consciousness here, it was really hard. It was hard. I'm still struggling with it. I'm already planning another trip back to Japan because I miss the element of Japan so much. I had never felt a trip have an effect on me like that. And I've never felt, I don't feel regret. I've had a really expansive life. I've pretty much have done everything that I've wanted to do, and am continuing to still do things and explore. Even in age, I still have all kinds of goals and ambitions and things that I want to succeed in, spiritual goals that I want to achieve in this lifetime. But when I came back from Japan, when I was 20, I wanted to go to Tokyo. And if I would have went to Tokyo, I would have never come back. I would have found a way to get back there, and I would have stayed there. But I also came back going, wow, that could have actually been a better life too. That's the only time I've ever felt a little tinge of regret going, if I ended up in Japan when I was 20, I would have stayed there. And certain things that went a certain way in my life, being a Westerner, would not have happened there. And I saw that, and it was the first time I felt a little tinge of like, oh, that's intense. That
That
would have been a
is.
very different, like, I even mentioned, I said it was kind of the concept of like, this is kind of a touchy subject, but like kind of being married. And then you run into someone else and you're like, oh, boy, that would have been a different life. But you have a responsibility, and we are connected to thousands of people. But Japan brought that feeling up in me of like, ooh, that would have been a very different life and possibly would have topped the life I have now as a Westerner. And I've never had that in India, because India, I would go to India for spirituality, but did I really want to live in India? I had thought about it, tried it a few times, but when I was in India, I felt like a Westerner in India. And I like that. My guru liked that too. He's like, I like my Buddhists in the city. He told me I was Indian 2 times in a row. I have that Indian core personality, but I didn't feel like living in India would have been a better life than me now, because I would always merge what I learned in India in my life here. And I practice agora very strongly in my home. And I liked that balance of being a Westerner with an Indian consciousness. And Japan was different. I was like, that, my personality as a human being, I felt in the Japanese culture. And they're very
Yeah.
introverted too. They're very much to themselves. They're not in your face. So it's just like, how do you collectively solve the problem and make the situation better? And then they go back to being very introverted. And all of that was just totally relatable. And I would look around and see a particular type of Japanese guy, very particular, often the more Buddhist type, the one that's more spiritually focused. I'm like, I even saw my beard all over Japan. I was like, that is so weird. Now, when this beard I have, I call it the Osiris beard. My guru in India, when he saw me have it, he goes, you do know you're born under Hades, right? He called it Bharani. And I'm like, yeah. He goes, you're forming an elephant trunk because you're an elephant. That's why you grow a beard like that. I called it Osiris, but he goes, but Hades is Osiris. So Osiris's beard was also to reflect the trunk of an elephant. I'm like, oh, that's weird. But anyways, so I had an amazing trip. I'm already making plans as we're speaking today to go back, and it looks like I'll be going back October of next year, if not before. So yeah,
Wow, that's amazing. I can totally relate to that kindness, considerate beingness, compassion. I always want everybody to feel taken care of and loved. And I too have been, even this week, burned a little for just being kind. I've had people say to me, I know you're so full of shit because no one is actually that kind. So that's why you're full of shit. I've had people yell at me in restaurants.
I
It's
believe it.
like, I'm like, okay, I'm sorry you didn't grow up with kind people in your life, you know? And I think to a certain degree, even in my youth and into my 20s, I was the term that people use now is fawning, like people pleasing. Like I just want people to be comfortable and happy to the detriment of myself at times. So that's been a lesson in this lifetime to go, okay, well, if I can be kind to everyone else and considerate and compassionate, I also have to treat myself with that same kindness, consideration, compassion. So
It's an interesting
that's
subject, isn't it? Because it's like, because I'm also in the music industry, and my record label years ago pulled me in for an actual meeting and said, Jade, you have to stop being so nice to people. People are going to start taking advantage of you. And he was mad. He was
oh,
like, you're actively trying to get this. There was a younger band that we played with, and I actively worked to get them a record deal, and I got him one. And they're like, you took time out of your own life when we needed you to be here, and you were helping this younger band get a record deal. I'm like, yeah, I got them a record deal though. They needed one. They
yeah,
deserved one too. And he's like, okay, but people are now going to be lining up at your door to get record deals and to have you be like the A&R rep for them. I'm like, and so it was in that time I had to sit down and go, do I change who I am? Because I'm having people ask me to change from being too nice and being overtly nice. They see it as a weakness here in the West. They see it as, someone, oh, I can take advantage of that person. And all that is true. I've absolutely been taken advantage of by people. And when they recognize the kindness, they do. I've had to completely go with my guru's philosophy on that. When you're serving other people and you're being kind to other people, it's to help their life. It's not to get anything in return.
that's right.
So people are upset that I'm kind and generous. They can. I'll let them do that. They can even take advantage if they feel like it. I like taking care of people. India opened up this well of love inside of my heart. It's just there. And I like giving that energy to other people. And I'm not going to stop doing it because we're in a culture that looks that like that's as like some type of weakness. I just got back from this was the Japan energy. I just got back from a culture where most people, I'm not going to say everyone in Japan was like that. That's not correct. I'm sure there's some rogue people that are nothing like that in Japan, but
Yeah,
the general consciousness and what a father is teaching a child at the dinner table is that you be kind. That's what that really mattered. Is I could tell that the philosophies that I developed on my own that made me the person I am were being taught there to people by parents. Be kind, be generous. You come back, and I don't want to get caught up in racist stories of Westerners or whatever, because I am one. But it was really intense getting on that plane and watching the change of behavior as I was sitting down with my own culture and
ah,
seeing what their issues were, and not resolving problems. How do I create more problems, and how do I magnify the problem that I am in because I'm not getting my way out of it? I saw that on the plane immediately. Of I'm not going to solve the problem. I'm going to magnify the problem because I'm not getting my way.
yeah,
Where I just came from a culture where you do back up a little bit. You back up a little bit internally, and you work to make the situation better for every person involved, even if you have. So I don't want to go too on, but it is something that had an effect on me. Where when I came back, I missed Japan, and my guru Bao died in 2013, and before he died, he did something very unusual. And this is really high Indian talk right here. There are 5 living masters on this earth at all times. The 5 living masters are not public beings. They're not teaching yoga. They're working for the consciousness of the avatar, the Christ, the Buddha, the Krishna, the Rama. That one being returns age after age, but when that being is not here, there are 5 living masters that uphold the energy of that one person. And that is in India. Mayor Baba talks about this constantly, about the 5 living masters that are always hidden. Their job is to work for the universe, and they're most commonly in India. And India often hosts all 5 of those masters, and not for any other reason. But Bao said, he said, the problem is, let's just say someone like Ramana Maharishi, which was one, he was one of the 5 living masters. Let's just say he was born in the United States, he would have been put in a mental institution. He would have been seen as crazy.
Yeah.
India, its consciousness is set up for those masters, and India protects those beings and makes certain that their lives are used for the sake of God realization, to work on other beings that are trying to also get God realized. But we've had a change. This was in 2013. Bao said, one of the 5 living masters is in Mumbai and runs a candy shop, because
Okay.
they don't say, oh, look at me, I'm a Sat Guru. No one in that state calls themselves a Sat Guru. No one
Right.
in that state draws attention to themselves. Look at me, I'm a master, because they're working for the universe. They really don't draw attention to themselves because they don't want that. They are working universally for reasons that people couldn't comprehend. So one of them runs a candy shop. And he said, and nobody knows who he is, but the kids that are getting candy at that shop are going to probably end up getting, you know, their karma removed from the candy that's there. And he said one of them is in South India and is someone that is perceived right now to be a homeless person. One of them is in Greece. And he said there is a man outside of an Apollo temple in Greece, and he is one of those 5 living masters. He said, that's rare. Bao told me early on that one was there. He told me that in like 2008, that there was one in Greece, and that was incredibly rare. And he said Greece is going to go through all these economical changes because that master is there. They work for the universe. They work for the larger purpose of the universe. And he said one is in Japan. And he said there is a lineage that has been developed in Japan. And he said it's a Buddhist temple. He even told me where. He said, but the janitor of that temple is the master. And the monks that are there know it. And they know they have a master there. And he's the one that's cleaning toilets. And he said, and they all know it. The monks there know that that janitor is the actual master. So going to Japan had a multi-purpose meaning to me. One was the creative element of my life, which was absolutely amazing there. The other one, I wanted to go to Japan my entire life. And the other one is I know that there's one of those 5 masters that is currently active in Japan. And so I do not need to meet that. I don't need to meet that person. That these people don't need to meet you in person. They are working for the universe. But when I was there, the energy of that was really powerful, including there were some goddess temples that we went to see that only open in the year of the snake. That's it. These goddess temples are closed for 11 years. They open up the 12th year, the year of the snake. So they just happened to be open. We were there because the year of the snake in Japan. And we went and traveled around to see these temples. Most of them I couldn't take pictures of. The one that I could, I posted about. But you could feel a higher working going on there too. When I was there, I could sense an energy I only got in India. I've traveled around this whole world. I mean, I've seen the majority of this world. I've done incredible amounts of traveling in this lifetime. India has an energy you cannot explain. You can tell when you're stepping on the ground, you're dealing with the land of masters. And there were elements of that energy that would circulate around Japan right now. And I'm like, oh no, I can feel that guy working. I can feel him. And I could feel a link to him. And I didn't realize it until I really got back that there was a whole other world of exchange going on there spiritually with me. And it was powerful. It was incredibly powerful, very humbling. I don't really talk a lot about spiritual experiences because I don't, it's just, maybe it's the Japanese energy that I'm there. It's like there's a humility I think we all have to have spiritually about this thing, even though I don't always come off like that. that's people do pick up Aries energy in me often. And but I'm like, no, in my personal life, there's definitely the agoric Buddhist energy. Buddhism was the core of agora. Buddha started agora when he was sitting in cemeteries, and when he was sitting in smashans, which are crematories. That's where agora came from.
Oh, I didn't know that.
When Buddha real Oh yeah, Buddha started agora. And
Well, for
when
our audience
there
who
was a
doesn't
state.
know, could you share a little bit about what agora is, and then let's tell that story?
Agora is the meditation on darkness, and is an absolute meditation on darkness, death, and permanence. An agora is kind of like, why focus on light? You're going to become that light in the end for all eternity. Your shadow is in the way. Let's work on the shadow. And that was a stage in Buddha's life when Buddha realized he had to die because he was born to a king that sheltered him from the world. And when Buddha realized that he had to die, he went on a quest to realize, why do we have to die? It makes no sense to me. It's like, I have to die one day. My child has to die one day. My wife has to die one day. Well, I'm going to go into the mountains and meditate on death until I realize why we have to do that. And it like destroyed Buddha, whose name was Siddhartha. It destroyed Buddha that he had to die and be separate from the people that he loved. And so he went into the forest and meditated. Well, he was the Buddha, he was the avatar, and he realized that there. And so, meditating on death, he hung out in cemeteries, he hung out in smashans, which are crematories, and he then realized why we had to die. And something very powerful about Buddha, especially my guru said, I want my Buddhas in the cities. Buddha also became that. So Buddha realized why we had to die. He went through all stages of consciousness in renunciation just by meditating on death. That's where agora came from.
Oh, I
So
didn't know that.
agoras have skulls, they meditate on death, they do all these various things to emulate the energy of Buddha. Now agora has become its own thing, but the tantric yoginis of Tibetan Buddhism, these all came right from Buddha, because he saw those spirits in the smashans, in the cemeteries, in the crematories. He saw these goddesses, and he's like, oh, how interesting that there are people out there that see these as low forces or as evil. They're actually realized goddesses. And so he started this whole path of yoginis and dakinis and them having skulls in their hands and eating hearts and all these scary images you see in agora. Tibetan Buddhism is highly agoric. It's very agoric. Agora in India is really just an Indian version of Tibetan Buddhism. It's a little extreme in that too, but you can see the link between the Dakinis in Buddhism and Kali and Tara and all these goddesses in agora. But it's the path of meditating on darkness. And there are stages in that. And that is important to talk about because Buddha, when he was hitting the last stage of enlightenment, realized that he wasn't going to hit the final stage being a renunciate in the forest, and said, you know what, if I stay here, I might have to take a birth and just be a businessman to balance out all of this renunciation. So while I'm conscious and while I'm awake, I'm going to go back into the world. So he left. I mean, yogis came from all over the world to sit with Siddhartha. He wasn't called the Buddha yet. Buddha means Mercury in India. So Buddha means an incarnation of the planet Mercury. People don't know that.
No, I didn't know that.
But yogis came from all over the world to meditate with Buddha. So to see him get up and say, you know what, I'm going to go into the world now. I'm going to eat the food that I want. Might even get married. I might even open up a business. That's fat Buddha. Jolly Buddha.
Fat jolly Buddha.
That is jolly Buddha saying, I can go back into the world. I can eat what I want, marry, live a normal life, and still be enlightened Buddha. And, my guru wanted me and some other students to emulate that stage of Buddha. It's one of the reasons why he told me to go back into music and all that stuff like that. He's like, okay, once your heart loves the path of renunciation. And once you truly are what we call safe, my guru, so you can't just become Buddha in the city, enlightened. You have to go through the renunciation process. You have
What
to,
does that look like?
meaning it's means there's a point where you have to renounce this world that we live in, and you have to let it go.
How
And
so?
then there's a final stage where you have to descend back into it, and then the world is, you see it differently. Like when I was a musician when I was younger, oh, I had to be this and I want to be that. It's nothing like that. It's an expression of something now, and my job as an astrologer and everything has a totally different meaning because I've lived in renunciation. I have let go of the world. I did live in India with masters and saints, and didn't ever want to come back to the world that we live in. I wanted to stay there, and my heart is still there. My heart is still in that. So the game of life is played very differently now. The
Yeah.
sufferings are understandable. You realize they have to be there. Astrology makes more sense. Everything makes more sense now. I am a Buddha in the city. Even though I live out in the middle of nowhere in Joshua Tree, I'm heavily involved in the world. I'm an
You are.
astrologer. I deal with people in the world. I travel to Japan. I'm also an artist that expresses myself in that way. But everything has a different meaning. I'm not trying to make it in anything. I'm not trying to succeed. I'm not trying to make things happen. I'm trying to live a life that makes sense to me. You know, agoras always shock people. Every agora is going to have some element of their life that makes you go, are they really spiritual? I don't know. We like people in that state because we
Yeah.
don't want people to view us as enlightened or this, that, or whatever. If you go hang out with an agora in India and you start going, ooh, I'm with a holy man, he's going to do something to shock you out of that.
Yeah.
Because when you rely on someone spiritually like that, it actually has a negative effect on a person. Like if I get a lot of compliments about my spiritual self, it feels like I'm being beat by shoes. I really don't like it. I like the fact that there are parts of my world that might make someone question whether I have been with masters and saints in India. I like that. That makes me feel comfortable that I have parts of me that might throw you right off. I'm tattooed all the way up and down. I have occult tattoos on my body that scare people, actually. I have to even be careful of what I wear when I'm in Joshua Tree. I like that because when someone is relying on me spiritually, that's not the way this works. My
Yeah.
guru said, a true master, and this is not me putting myself in that role, this is just what he said. A true master doesn't want you holding on to his body while he's swimming in the ocean. He wants you swimming next to him.
Yeah.
And that is the way this works. So when people start to try to hold on to you spiritually, they don't want to do the work themselves. They want you to do it for them. So when someone starts to praise and when someone starts to get out, you're my guru, it's like, oh, don't, no. Don't make me do your work.
Yeah.
Don't make me do your work. You do your own work. I am a teacher. I'm here to teach. I believe I've earned being a teacher in this life. Does that make me more important than someone else? No, it does not. I've It's just my education. I went to India to educate myself spiritually. Agora, I picked because it made total sense to me. And I believe I've been in Agora multiple times, and my guru in India confirmed that. But Agora, going back to your original statement, is the meditation on darkness. If you were, I can't even take pictures of my altar room and put them online. I'd be unfollowed by
That's
thousands of
crazy.
people
I get it. But then there's
because
people like me
there
who
are,
like, I love that shit. I want to see it. I'm like, that's awesome.
yeah, no, I have a collie with a bullhead,
Hmm.
and I have skulls of Buddhist monks. I have all kinds of things like that in my home, and it's just But I also, my guru would always say, I want you being open about being an agora. A lot of agoras in India hide that they're an agora. They don't tell people. There are house agoras, and then there are ones that are in the streets dressed up as agoras and walking around with bones and skulls, and they're all there. I come from a lineage of house agoras. Means you live a normal life, but in the basement downstairs, you have an agoric life going on. That's it's like there are people who like think you're a serial killer. They walk into your room like, okay, what's this?
Yeah.
I have had someone walk into my room before on accident and walk right out the front door and go get in their car and drive off and said, what was that? I went into your collie room and I explained it to them. They came right back and I'm like, listen, I'm the most harmless person in the world. I want happiness for every human being. I want everyone to succeed. I want their lives to be filled with light and happiness. This has just brought happiness to me. The idea that we are already light, but our shadow is in the way and we should work endlessly to realize our shadow, that makes total sense to me. I do
Mhm.
feel the light in me. And I feel the more I deal with my dark and the more that I'm dealing with these darker paths, the more light I'm being able to hold in my own life. So I believe in it strongly. Do I believe it's the only way to experience light? Absolutely not. And I believe
Yeah.
this is maybe a more intense path for people to do it. It's just natural for me to be this way. It's natural. I'm not, there's, a master sees the core of your own self. They see it, and their job is to help you become what you are. They don't make you do yoga. They don't make, unless you are a yoga by nature, a yoga master, then they're going to make you do yoga because that's the path you've been on. We've all been digging wells to hit water. We've all been digging wells. Agora is the well I've been digging. So my guru Bao, my second guru, because my first guru called Babaji died, the Agoric guru. He died very early. I mean, I only saw him a few times, and he set me on the path of Agora. So when Bao came into my life, he was a master. Bao was a master. My agoric teacher was an agoric teacher. Great teacher, but he was not a master. Bao
Mhm.
was a master. So when I arrived to Bao and I was an agora, he laughed and said, I'm going to keep you an agora. You're the first person I ran into in my existence that I'm keeping on the path of agora because it is the well you've been in. You've almost hit water, and I need you to stay right there and hit water. But I don't like agora. This is Bao, my teacher, because I don't like that path. He says, I have just went towards light. He said, I have been with the avatar, Krishna, Christ, Buddha. He goes, that is where I've stayed life after life, is right there at that being. In my tradition, Christ, Buddha, Krishna, Rama, Muhammad were just the same person incarnating at different times.
Mhm.
And all religion centers around the same person. Human beings interpret that in their own way. And that's where the mistakes of religion come about, not from that one. Where my guru was, I follow that person. And he said, you're a mama's boy to me. You've been following the dark mom.
Yeah.
And so stay right there. You're almost done. And then and we had these amazing talks and amazing experience. He kept me on my path. A guru's job is not to teach you some form of yoga. They're to awaken what is already in you, and they see your divine self, and their job is to keep you there. And so you don't stray off. Like I said many times, if you're digging a well in the ground to hit water, you don't want a bunch of holes in the ground that don't go very deep. You
Mm.
need to hit that water, and that's why paths exist. So my guru is like, get on a path, dig until you hit water. It almost doesn't even matter what path you pick. Just pick one. And my guru would always say that's a joke because you're going to pick the one that's the most natural for you. You're not going to pick the wrong one. But don't bounce around. I can't tell you how hard that is for people to dig a well.
I
If
can
there's
relate.
one thing that I appreciate in my life is I'm 30 years on the path of agora. I have not wavered from this path. The people that I learn from have all been like me. They have been on that path for decades. So in the Buddhas that are in the city that I know, like there are a couple high level Buddhas in the entertainment business. Like Jeff Kober's one of my friends. He was in The Walking Dead. He's won Emmys. He also teaches meditation.
Cool.
He's one of the Buddhas out there. Bruce Rubin, my very first teacher I ever had, he wrote the movie Ghost, Jacob's Ladder, My Life. He's a real Buddha in the city. He's won an Oscar for the movie Ghost.
I
He
love that
teaches
movie.
meditation, and he is everything you want out of a teacher. As a matter of fact, if I didn't go to India, he would probably still be my teacher to this day. But when I went to India and found Agora, because Bruce Rubin was my teacher, the Oscar winner for Ghost, he just finished the movie Deep Impact when I was working with him. When I came back from India, he said, I have to let you go. You found your home, and I can tell. And we can be friends now. And I went,
Mhm.
no, 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 no. Bruce awakened my Kundalini just by looking at me. I walked in for the very first time to his class. He looked at me, and my Kundalini went up my spine. I leaned forward and passed out. And I was in front of a class, and Bruce Lee says, that's the way it's supposed to be, right there. I've never even met that
Wow.
person before. And he's already in Kundalini. All I did was look at him. He said, that's because in his previous life, he's been working towards that. And he probably had those experiences. But I was passed out. in his class, and it came out, and it was so crazy. As I left his class the first time in tears, and went home and watched Jacob's Ladder because he wrote that movie, and because he's also Hades. Bruce Rubin had a Hades moon. There's a horror element. There's a dark element to people born under Hades. They kind of like that stuff. I'm one of those. And I just watched Jacob's Ladder and cried because I've never felt love like that, ever. And it was Bruce Rubin, this Hollywood celebrity that wrote the movie Ghost and Jacob's Ladder, that did that. And then all of a sudden I go to India, and he moved me. As you needed to say same thing. True teachers, that when they see the well that you've been digging, they keep you on that path. And he said, we're friends now. I have not seen him since. I still send people his way, though. But Bruce was one of the single best teachers I've ever had. And I put Bao number one because Bao was on a whole other level. But I put Bruce over Kal Babaji. The agoric teacher I had in India was a brother. I didn't see him as realized, but he was a great teacher of agora. He taught me all these agora. He taught me mantras. But where was he at? I felt very much where he was at. Bruce, it was on another level. And when I met Bao, I was like, I saw the universe come out of the palm of his hands before. I was a night watchman for Bao. I had to take care of him and give him tea at night. And there's one thing you don't do around Bao. If you're watching him at night, you don't fall asleep, because he's a guru. And if he rolls over and he needs tea, you'll get him tea. And you can't be asleep. One time he rolled over, I was asleep. I was supposed to go get him tea, and he's looking over, and I'm sleeping. And so I realized that I fell asleep. Literally, while I'm asleep, I pop myself up and I look over at Bao. And this is not a joke. His hand's open, and the entire universe is in his hand. I saw planets, stars, and he looks over at me, and he goes like this, and it disappears. And I'm like, I was just sitting there. I do know that had to happen because he was all knowing. So he knew I was going to see that. So I believe it was kind of arranged. But I watched him just like that. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm here. I'm like, you fucking fell asleep. And you're not supposed to do that. But I think he put me to sleep. I think the whole thing was totally arranged that way. But he did jump on me the next day. Oh, Maha Yogi, so spiritual, but can't stay awake at night. But he's my night watchman at night. He goes home and he stays up all night and meditates on Kali at night. But he came here, he can't even stay. Gurus will destroy your ego.
Yeah.
What Bao did to me, I've never even told the story of what Bao did to me, how he destroyed the ego. But that's the job of him. He sees the ego's in the way. So I'll just tell the story. I've never told the story ever. Bao, right when I got to India, was like, this guy right here, referring to me, highly evolved, very advanced being. And he tells a story. He goes, I was on my way to go see him in 1963. This is my past life. And my guru stopped me, Mayor Baba, said, don't go see him. He's going to die pretty soon. He's going to be reborn as a Westerner, and I'm making him your disciple. So he is going to follow you. So you don't need to go rush to him like he's some spiritual person. He's claiming he's God realized in Rishikesh, but he's not. He's going to be reborn in the West, and I'm making him your guru. So Bao, there's a whole crazy story about how Bao found me and pulled me to him. That's just a story that I don't really share too much. But Bao goes, this guy's great to me. This is a setup, by the way. This is a setup.
I had a feeling.
So, stitch cupping, that whole thing. Yeah, that is. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, me? It's like, oh yeah, you're on a real high plane. Like, oh, I knew that. I felt that. So boom, I'm all excited. He tells 700 people, had me sitting on stage, Mahayogi. He gave me the name Mahayogi. Very advanced, Rishikesh guru, very famous his last life. People came from all over the world to see him. But he wasn't very advanced, but he is now. So I come back to the United States. I am already teaching meditation at the time. I'm already an astrologer. And I bring a whole group of people to India. Bring like 20 people. We're on a plane. We land. We go there. Bao pulls me on stage. The group of people is there. Bao's like, this guy brought you to India because he's so advanced. So advanced. Highest guru, famous his last life. Bollywood actors going to meet him, giving people Shakti pot. my students are like, oh my God, we found our guru Jade, and he's so enlightened. So they go back, tell people how amazing I am. I bring another group. This time I bring 34 people. It's the most people that has ever been brought to Bao from the West at one time. Bao says it. We've never had someone bring 34 people from the United States because he's so advanced over here. Mr. Famous guru. I was going to see him my last life because he was so popular. Astrologer, sitar player. He told me I practice agora in secret. I didn't tell anyone. He wanted me to be public this life about being an agora because I hid that from people because he was afraid of losing his audience by being one. So he actually practiced agora and nobody knew that. Bao told me that. So anyways, then I bring another large group. This is a true story. All of this is, I'm even shortening it. So I'm on stage and Bao is like, Mahayogi here, so advanced. And right in the middle, and it's the biggest audience I've ever seen Bao have. There's like over 1,000 people. He looks over at me and he looks over at one of the people that I brought. One of my clients brought her 16-year-old son. And Bao looks at me and goes, wait a minute. I'm sorry, Mahayogi. Everything I saw in you is in that boy right there. I've made a mistake. That boy right there, he's actually highly advanced. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. And I'm looking at what? I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm highly advanced. You've been telling me for like 5 years now. He's like, no, you're not. He is. That boy right there that you brought. Bao brings this boy on stage, puts him and has him sit in front of me, and says, this boy right here was with the original Shirdi Sai Baba, extremely advanced, very advanced, not Mahayogi here. And so I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And I would like you, referring to me, to take care of this boy. And he looks over to the boy's mom and says, can your son stay here? Can you guys stay here for longer? I need Mahayogi to take care of him. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? Wait a minute. No, wait. I'm embarrassed. I'm in front of hundreds of people. And all of a sudden, I'm Mr. Not Advanced. And he's like, I want you to take care of this. This boy's like got Ninja Turtle socks on, practically. I mean, it's like, what is going on here? So the next day, I get up and I go to Bao, and I'm like, what's going on here? I'm not advanced? Like, no, I'm sorry. And he said, I had to tell you that you were because I needed to get that boy to me. I knew he was in the United States. And the only way to get him here was to somehow connect you to him. And because I was telling people how important you were, I knew you were going to bring people here. I'm like, so you like used me to get this boy here? And he's like, yes, and I now need you to take care of that boy. He said, this rest of the trip here, I need to take care of him. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. I have never cried like that in my entire life. I left and went to a room and curled up in a ball and just cried and cried and cried and cried. The next day I'd get up, Bao, come on, tell me back. Just go back to me being advanced again. Can we just go back to that? I'm sorry. No. No. So, which was crazy, that boy ended up with a brain tumor and he died in India. Not then, but on another trip he came, his mom brought him back. And we went back to the States on this trip. He had a brain tumor. And when that boy ended up with the brain tumor, I'm telling you, he enlightened a bunch of people in that state. Bao was not lying. And I watched this 16-year-old boy end up with a brain tumor and end up in this place with migraines, and he starts going through this stuff, and I'm watching his mom go, what the hell's happened to my son? And Bao said, I'm sorry, to his mom. He was with the original Sai Baba. I'm not making this up. Right now, he's getting ready to purify every single person he's connected to. And I watched that 16-year-old kid, which he was now like 18 years later, enlighten a bunch of people in the state. So then it was after he died, it was back to me. And I finally got to a point where I didn't really care what I was, and there was a day I remember going to see Bao, and I remember sitting down there and I'm like, Bao, it's really funny. I'm going to speak the truth. And, I don't really care where I'm at. I don't really care. I just want to be whatever Kali wants me to be. And whatever I am in the end with her, that is what we're going to be in the end. And he said, right answer. That is I needed you there. It just shouldn't matter whether you're advanced or not. That's just ego. He said, but you in your previous life were a really famous guru and built up this ego about being really advanced. And I needed that gone. And there was no other way to relate to you and to bring you down from that state so we could go back to doing real work. I needed that part of your ego destroyed. There
Damn.
was 2 years of crying at a level I've never cried.
That's traumatic.
I would get, it was, and there were people around that would probably even see it as being abusive. But when I surrendered and let go of all this attachments to I'm this, I'm that, I'm going to be this, I'm going to be that, once we got there, then the work with Bao actually began. Then it was like that ego of I'm important and spiritually really important had to go, and he knew no other way to do it than the way that he did it. He knew the medicine for me. They all have the medicine for your ego, and that's what they did. And so, there's the Japanese guru that has a bamboo stick that's going to hit you with it until you're, this was Bao's way of, and when I came out of it and then the work with him began, it was utterly divine. But he needed that part. So when I get caught up in dealing with people's ego spiritually, like, oh, I'm this, I'm that, oh, I'm a Sat guru, I'm this, I'm on this plane, I'm fifth dimension, I'm third dimension. It's nonsense.
Yeah.
It is utter nonsense. The beings that are on high levels don't speak like that. They don't draw attention to themselves and will even do things to throw you off. They can't be realized, like a candy store owner in Mumbai who is an actual master. And it's not always like that. It's the age we're in right now. Like I can list masters. Rumi was a God-realized master. Ramana Maharishi was a God-realized master. But they're often absorbed spiritually in devotion. They're not teaching a lot of things. They could be poets like Rumi. They could be like Ramana Maharishi, my favorite of all gurus. I hate saying this because Mayor Baba was my grandfather guru, but Paramahansa Ramakrishna, who got God realized through Kali and Calcutta, favorite guru of all time. I just absolutely love him. But these masters have overcome 7 stages of ego death to get where they're at. And so, and then I have a job where I'll be giving a reading to someone that believes they're reincarnation of Jesus. I have 7 clients that believe they're Jesus. I have a bunch of clients that believe they're Mary Magdalene in previous life. So what I went through in India, I'm like set up to kind of chip away that part of that person because it is what's stopping people from progression is our ego.
Oh my gosh.
So
There's so
agora
much.
is the annihilation of that stuff.
Wow. Well, thank you for trusting me and our audience with that story because it's vulnerable, it's embarrassing, it's painful, but it's your path. It was part of your path, and yeah, I mean, from an outside perspective, it was mean. It was fucking mean, but it's what needed to occur. And I believe our souls sign up for, the outline of our life or the script of our life. That was intense. I feel like I was there and like I was in the room with you and I was watching it happen and the boy and the whole thing. Like you're a great storyteller. So for those of us who are good at visualizing or using our imagination, we just went on a journey with you. I felt everything and I just want to give you a hug. And I know you don't, I mean, I know
Thank
you'd
you
love
so
one, but you don't
much.
need one.
Well, I
So
appreciate that empathy and that compassion in you. It even brought back days I was in my guru's office pleading with him, please go back to calling me advanced, please.
Yeah.
I can't. And he would just sit there and he stayed there. He goes, and he knew the remedy. He had the medicine for my ego. And if he did not do that, I would have not ended up with the clientele I have. I would not end up with the business I have. My ego would have eventually strangled me out of all of this stuff. And I watched it happen to other people. I watch other, and how is they start talking about how they're this, they're that, they're that, they're that, and that. It's like, that is not. There are 7 planes of consciousness we have to go through before we're done. 7 planes. There are only 7,000 people on those planes. It is a set number. 7,000 are working for the entire functioning of the planet. There are beings in those 7,000 that rule over light and are producing light on this planet. There are beings in that seven plane that are producing all the calamities on this planet at the same time. My guru talked to me about the dark master. Out of those 5 living masters, one of them is dark and creates all the problems on this planet. That one has the greatest love for humanity. This is the agoric master. So we kind of lock into that particular one, because that agoric master is saying Earth is school. It's not your home. I'm going to create these calamities so you eventually get yourself to the point where you're like, I want to go home. Earth is school. It's not your home.
I want to go home.
Right?
Yeah.
And that is the core desire of the dark master, is to get you to a place where you're like, oh man, I'm done here. I don't even want to be seen as successful, famous, enlightened. I just want to go home. And when you are there, that means you're safe. We call you God's friend. It means you want to go home. And that going home is more important in the world. And I have that. You have that. My guru said to me, you can now do whatever you want in the West. You go back to music. You go back being an astrologer. You're now safe. I'm not worried about you anymore. I'm not worried about you getting caught up in your ego. I'm not worried about you getting caught up in this, that, or whatever. You're safe. He called me God's friend. He said, you're a friend of God now. He got me in that state. My ego made it where I was not God's friend. I was my own friend. I was a friend to only myself, where there's a difference in consciousness between people that are working universally and they are in disguise, and there's one point of their life that disguises them entirely. They make certain you do not see them as enlightened because it's a distraction for the work they can actually offer beings. And so, yeah, Japan has one right now. Japan has one. And a really funny thing, I cannot tell you where he's at, but I can tell you that where he's at, there are a bunch of active bears right now eating people. Japan has a bear problem right now. They've had 200 bear maulings since May. 57 people have been killed by bears, which is really strange to me. I'm like, and his spiritual center is right next to that place. I did not go there because I didn't need to go there. I just needed to set foot in Japan. Yeah, but bears are all over in Japan right now. They've had an alarming amount of bear maulings in Japan.
Oh my God, I needed that. I started crying when you were talking about that. And when I said out loud, I want to go home, I was like, I just feel it so much. And I don't even know why I'm so emotional.
That's what suffering is for. That's why the Christ, the Buddha, the Krishna, the Rama emulate suffering, because it's through the suffering that you finally go, okay, I'm done with all this stuff here. So as tough as everything is going on this planet, how weird everything is, it's also going to get a lot of people in position to say, oh, I'm done here. It's time to go home. And that I do know. And so even though I have political beliefs, I have political sides, I'm going to stand by what I feel is right in the world with those things. I still know that everything is set up for us to get us to a point where we want to return back to our highest self. And that is, we are in the end of an age, and 26 is going to reveal more and more about the coming ending of ages that we are in. We enter the age of Chimera in 2070. That's in Asterian astrology. 2020 to 2070. Yeah, you heard me talking about predicting pandemics way in advance. It's all, from calamities, natural disasters, tsunamis. You heard me last year talking about tsunamis, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions. We're in it on your show.
Many.
It was, this one lady, she's being praised for predicting a tsunami a couple weeks ago, and there was that earthquake in Japan. I'm like, oh, hey, I last year was talking about this, Saturn and Pisces.
That's right.
And volcanic eruptions. We are just in the beginning stages of these transitions. 26 is going to be a step further than 25 with natural disasters. We are going to continue on this path of ending the age we're in, because we're going into the age of Chimera in 2070. And we have to go through this disintegration process, and we're in an escalated stage of it right now. So that's more in 2026. I don't even have much to say about 26 other than it's a further evolution of what I said 25 would be. Bigger earthquakes, tsunamis, volcanic eruptions, all sending the signals of the end of an age. And we're entering not a Mahapralaya. A Mahapralaya is the end of the world. We're entering what we call a Pralaya. A Pralaya means we survive these transitions. Not everyone, but a lot of people do. A significant amount of enough to rejuvenate and rebirth a new age in 2070, which, maybe we'll be alive to see, maybe we'll be there in our next lives, but we are in that process right now.
Wow. So, I mean, there's probably a lot of new subscribers who didn't watch the show last December or January. So, looking ahead at 2026, you said there's going to be more of what we saw in 2025. So, natural disasters and they occurred on such a big level too. Like you hear about, oh, here's a 4.6, but then it's like, oh shit, here's like a 7 point something or a, even worse. So, can you just recap and
Yeah,
how do we prepare?
Saturn in okay, and I'll get into that too,
Okay.
because I'm working on that part right now. But
Okay.
Saturn in real astrology, as there's a real system out there and there is a fake system out there, and goddess bless New York Times for writing an article
Yes.
about Western astrology not being real, and I have clients in my roster that will go still pay attention to Western astrology, and the excuses out of that one were insane. Like, oh, there's an invisible zodiac in the sky, and Western astrology follows this invisible zodiac in the sky. This was one of my clients of the day who talks about Western astrology. What do you mean an invisible zodiac? Oh, the equinoxes create the invisible zodiac. I'm like, that's a calendar. You're talking about a calendar. The equinoxes create calendars, the seasons, but they don't observe the stars in the sky. Oh no, those equinox, they break up the seasons and the sky in 12 parts. I'm like, well, then why did our ancients build planetariums and observatories? And why is there no talk in ancient astrology from our astrologers talking about two zodiacs? They're not talking about two zodiacs. They only talk about one. Oh, but those are astronomers, and astronomers are not astrologers. Wrong answer. So astrology and
Yeah.
astronomy, this is big right here. Astronomy and astrology were the same science up to 400 years ago when we entered the age of reason, and astronomers wanted to separate astrology, the mystical part, from astronomy. That was 400 years ago. Every ancient astronomer was an astrologer. They were the exact same science. So when our ancient astronomers were creating planetariums to observe the stars in the sky, creating horoscopes from observing the stars in the sky, if you're still observing Western astrology, you are not acknowledging our masters that created astrology, who built planetariums. The Egyptians, which sidereal astrology is on their walls, they are as clear as sidereal astrologers as you could possibly imagine, built pyramids to actually reflect the stars directly above us. When you are following Western astrology, you are ignoring that. You're ignoring everything our masters created, everything. So go ahead and follow it. There is the illusion out there, which is ruled by commercialism, and you can make up stories like there's an invisible zodiac. If there was an invisible zodiac, there would have been no need for our ancient astronomers to build planetariums to create astrology charts and to observe the stars. They would have just observed that seasonal calendar there. There had been no reason for planetariums. There had been no reason for Egyptians to build pyramids that point directly to the stars when Western astrologers don't use those stars. They don't use anything like that. So, and also, Asterian astrology is a play of the gods. It's a play of the gods. So we are, Saturn in real astrology went into Pisces on March 28th, the day of the Myanmar earthquake. I said it would start earthquake season. It has been nonstop earthquakes, volcanoes, tsunamis. We've had one. These things are going to escalate into next year. I do believe that May through September is very big in natural disasters, very big in politics. We are going to see major changes right there from May on, major shifts there. Political leaders not being alive anymore. It's going to be significant what happens in the spring. That is when Jupiter goes back into Cancer. Jupiter popped into Cancer for a short period of time. It's currently right back now in Gemini. under the star Artemis, so it stays there. So there's still some effects of Cancer going on at the moment, the constellation. But when it pops back in, we got a little tiny glimpse of what the combination of Saturn in Pisces and Jupiter in Cancer, two water signs. We got a small little glimpse of what that was going to do. So I get to say with conviction that May is going to kick off a series of natural disasters, a series of big political changes, unrest, turmoil, all kinds of things are going to take place then. But it's a further escalation of what this year is to bring. In 28, when Saturn goes into Aries, then I'm going to make very different types of predictions. But right now, water-related disasters, flooding. You heard me say flooding last year.
That's right.
Flooding is going to be significant. Tsunamis, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions is going to escalate these things.
Yeah, I grew up in Florida, and I have friends on the west coast of Florida still, and friends in Jamaica. And one of my best friends lives in a part of Florida on an island that the natives lived in for so many years because they used the stars and certain things to chart that it was safe from bad weather. Obviously, global warming is a big problem. The weather is changing. Storms are getting worse in conjunction to whatever's going on with the gods and goddesses. And for the first time in a long time, her island was hit by a hurricane, and it's unheard of. Unheard of. It's considered sacred land and a chosen land. And it's that whole area near Bradenton, Florida, and Holmes Beach and all of that. And they haven't recovered yet in over a year. And then one of my other close friends lives in Jamaica, and he's dealing with the hurricane that hit there just a few months ago from the time we're filming this. And it's crazy. Like the gravity, these storms that are happening. It's like, are we being reset? Like, what is going on?
It is the end of an age. And so the gods are active. The gurus, the five living masters, are directly working with these gods to create the worlds that we live in.
Mhm.
We do have some choices on how we get there.
Yeah.
I'm still pro the path I'm on, even on the political side, because I'm pro let's go out through natural disasters, not through a third world war.
Yeah.
If
Nuclear
we go
weapons.
out through natural disasters, that is natural. Even if human beings are involved in the destruction of nature, it is still nature using nature to move us out of creation. Then there's the man-made possibility, which is unnatural, us leaving through unnatural events, and that is a third world war. So we are at a decision-making time. Are we going to go out through nature, which is slow? And means our life can still have some normalcy in it while the world ends the age, or we go out through that third world war, which will last for 3 months if we take that route, and it will end 3/4 of the planet's population within a year after the results of that war. And so we're here. What I just said right now, I said in 2005 about 2020 to 2070. We're either going to go out through a series of natural disasters. That's natural. And there are going to be people out there supporting that energy. And then there's the unnatural, let's go out through a nuclear war, unnatural. And there are people supporting that. And so the division is much deeper than just about, red or blue. It's how are we going to end this? How are we going to get out? We're in that scope now. So the decisions are going to be made of whether we go out through one doorway or whether we go out through the other. And as much as we feel that we have that decision, it has already been made.
Believe that as well.
I don't like a lot of talk about fate. And the reason why, my guru would always say, you're in God's dream.
Mhm.
It's already happened.
Mhm.
But as long as you get up and you experience choosing Pepsi over Coke or water over bottled water or spark, as long as you experience choice, it has to exist in creation. So to override free will when you actively experience it goes against the grain of your understanding. And it puts you in a place where you try to understand things that you can't. You're making decisions on a day-to-day basis. And he used a very interesting scenario, which I have said before. He said, everything is fate, but you still have a job to make things better. He said, let's just say you're walking down the street and you see a man abusing a woman. her karma put her in that place. That's a fact. But you still go help her. If you keep walking, you're now part of the problem. But it is fate that she's in that situation. He said, there's where Indian consciousness and Western consciousness somewhere have to meet. And that's very true. That's a problem I had with India. India would be the type, I hate saying this. India would, if they saw a man abusing a woman, a lot of those Indians would keep walking. Oh, that's her karma. She attracted that because of what she's done. It's not my problem. Where my guru would say, that's a mistake. It is her karma that created that experience. And you go make her situation better. That's what love does. Knowing that she did put herself karmically in that place, and you still go help her anyways. So we're kind of in this era right now in the world, in the stage of consciousness. It's like, yeah, our karma has pulled us into the situation. It actually has. Yet we actively should involve ourselves to improve it and to make it better. Free will exists because you experience making decisions. But we are all in a dream. And that dream.
So let's zoom out right there. Zoom out right there. If we're in God's dream and the end of time has already happened and everything's already happened, which I believe, then the decision in the moment to be compassionate to that woman, wasn't that also already predetermined? Wasn't that already scripted?
Yes, and the masters are there to keep the light going and making certain that consciousness still sustains, that people go help her. So he is the voice of consciousness in the dream that keeps everything going. So yes, the masters have to keep planting that seeds of consciousness in the dream because that's just who they are and that is what they do. And so, my guru did not like a lot of talk about fate. He was like, he said, it is true. Absolutely. But you are experiencing making decisions. My guru hated talks that people ask about. Oh, we're living in altered dimensions, and you're in this dimension. And he's like, my guru would say, who gives a shit? I'm only experiencing this one, and this is the one I'm going to live in because this is the one I'm experiencing, and this is the one I'm making decisions in. So if I'm in some other dimension doing other things, I don't give a crap. I'm in this one. You and I are engaged in this one right now. So when people try to, I don't want to be mean. She'll probably watch this, but she's like, Jade, I had this experience of experiencing you in another dimension entirely, and you and I were doing this, and you were doing that. That has nothing to do with me. I'm living this one, and this one I'm experiencing. I'm in this one, and you and I are talking right now, so we don't need to have a talk in another dimension. Let's talk in this one, because is any of that stuff even real? My favorite thing is walk-ins. It's like another walk-in conversation. Oh, I'm a walk-in. No, you're not. You're not a walk-in. Because we are the spirit, we're not the body. Are you trying to tell me that we are the body and just spirits go in and out of this damn thing? So where was that spirit that got pushed out when you came in? No, that's you. We're spirits, we're not this body. The walk-in is the idea that you're the body, not the spirit in it. And the other spirits could just bump you out. No. We're not the body, we're the spirit. Our spirit evolves. Certain energies come in and assist our evolution. There's so much crap out there. The amount of time I'm being told I'm some 5-dimensional or whatever, is it 3 or 5? I don't even know. I don't even care. I don't want to know what the answer.
Yeah, I heard right now we're at 5, but 4 was the big one for a while.
Well, I've been called by, you're a 5th dimensional this or whatever. You know what? I don't care about that talk. I don't have any interest in it. I'm living this life. I'm trying to realize my relationship with Kali, the Dark Mother, Hecate. I'm trying to realize this connection, and I want to unify with that. And whatever that wants me to be in the end, I'm going to be in the end. She gets the power to do what she wants. That's the talk I want to have. I don't care what dimension I'm in, this, that, whatever. I agree. I don't even know what that means. I try to learn. What does it mean? Yes, do I have deeper levels of spiritual? I had Kundalini shoot through my spine on innumerable different occasions in this life. I have been in a Kali temple punching my legs because I thought I was going to die because Kundalini was going through my body to such an extent. I got nervous going, I'm not going to make it through this. This Kundalini is so utterly powerful. I'm going to die right now. And I started punching my leg in a Kali temple just to try to feel my body because Kundalini was so strong. My first time I ever lived in Joshua Tree, was chanting to Ganesh. I worshiped Ganesh before Kali, and while I'm chanting to Ganesh, Kundalini shoots up my spine and I just go sideways. And I end up in some red world, walking through Joshua Tree in some, other state of consciousness until I came back. I've had those experiences and they all mean nothing. Love is the only thing that matters. Love is the only thing that moves you from one realm to the other. Without love, you're useless. Longing, which you just displayed by having tears, is love in action. If you don't have longing for consciousness and longing to get out of all this stuff, it's useless. This is talk to make sense to me. What I am here, what I am there, my guru ripped that apart in me. He picked it up, tore it apart. And he even told people out of the 7 planes, he's on this one, real high plane, and then took me off that plane and put me on a lower one. It's like,
Yep.
I've been destroyed. So, and that destruction only allowed the truth in me to be realized in myself. So when people talk to me that way, I have no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah.
I do have different levels, but I have a path I follow. When you worship a goddess for 30 years, I'm on my 30th year of goddess worship. After 7 years, you're supposed to experience this. After 14 years, you're supposed to experience that. After 21 years, you're supposed to experience that. After 28th, you start working for her. Okay, so I believe that I'm working for the divine feminine because I've earned it, not because I'm I'm so amazing. I've been on the same freaking path for 30 years. I've earned that state. And if anyone is on a path for 30 years, they earn that same state. The only credit I give myself was having the consciousness to go, this is my home base spiritually. I'm going to dig from this place. I'm at home. That's agora for me. That's dark mother stuff. That's, skulls, Kali, tongue hanging out of the mouth, yin and yang, same thing. Tamaguna, darkness, Sattvaguna, same thing. They're gunas. That's natural to me. But I'm in my home base. So the desire, if you really want to grow spiritually, is to find your home base. To find that home base that you can dig in the most natural self until you hit that water. I found my home in agora. I've had masters push me back onto it. I've been here for 30 years. Do I think that I'm working for Kali? Do I think Kali goes out and gets my clients to me? Yeah. I have no ability to have the clientele that I have. I'm out here in Joshua Tree. I don't have the ability to have clients in Germany find me. She does.
Mm-hmm.
I've earned that connection, not out of greatness, out of devotion. Devotion to a path is everything. And so long to find where your home base is and then dig. Don't bounce around and dig a bunch of holes in the ground that don't go very deep so you never hit water that way. Just dig. One time I came back from India, and when I was in India, agoras rolled through a city, and they do terrible music. Now it's good music, but they dance and they bring fear and terror and they scare you, and they do these crazy dances and
they literally roll in, right? They literally roll in. Yeah.
They roll in and the town goes into fear. It's like a horror movie just showed up, and they don't, because they'll even go rob graves and stuff like that. So it's like, so when the agoras come, they seize a city and they start performing, and you start going, okay, are they going to harmony? The fear of the city goes about. Strangely enough, I have that even in a creative way, which is really kind of funny how Westernly agoric I actually am, because the agoras roll in, and I remember this guy sitting on the top of a chair with skulls, and this was in Ahmednagar, India. And I'm like, oh my God, the agoras are here. And I practice agora. I feel like I'm at home. But they worship Bhairava, the male deity. And I felt the power of Shiva. And here I am worshiping Kali, and I'm a very specific type of house agori, which means I'm not living quite like them. I'm living more in a worldly way while practicing agora. And I want to be what they are. And I felt Shiva, Bhairava come off, that guru sitting on the top of that throne of skulls. It was a real throne of skulls. And he was chanting the Rudrani, the Rudra. And it was just so utterly powerful. I literally, I might want to shift to Shiva. I was worshiping Kali for 12 years already. I might want to shift to Shiva. I just felt power. I'd come back. I'm living in Wrightwood, California, the top of a mountain, in the trees, living and sleeping in a coffin. I mean, I'm practicing agora in a room full of skulls, sleeping in a coffin, drawing yantras on the top of that to bring Kali into the tomb with me, just to overcome fear so I can live this life without fear. I'm getting there. I'm like, I'm changing to Shiva. I'm going to start worshiping Bhairava. So I take my Kali statue down. I start creating it. I make my own statues. So I'm making a statue. This is another crazy story. So, and this, I'm almost done with it. I'm
This is
making a
awesome.
statue of Shiva, and it's this incredibly crazy Bhairava statue. I even have goat horns that I had bought. I'm placing on the top, and I'm scooping out its eye with a knife, and I slip and put the knife right through my hand. I still have the mark from it. The knife doesn't go all the way through, but it pushes up my skin. I'm in the mountain. I'm in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, God.
I don't have the ability to even get to a hospital. And I'm sitting there going, oh my God, you just put a knife through your hand. And my phone rings. And I literally walk down as a knife is sticking out of my hand, and I still have the stitches you can actually visibly see. I walk down and pick up the phone, and it's Bao, my guru, calling from India. This is the day of rotary phones. So, and I'm sitting there with a knife coming out of my hand, and Bao says, there's no shifting. There's no changing. What are you doing? You have been on this path that I've kept you on. And here you are trying to shift. Oh, Mr. Mahayogi. Oh, a whim comes and I shift. He said, "Are you? Oh, you're. What happens if you get married and then you meet some other? Oh, you're gonna go shifting from this marriage to another marriage to another marriage to another marriage to another marriage. You've insulted Kali." And I'm like, sitting there with a knife coming out of my hand.
Fuck.
And he said, "Plan your next trip to India. Do not change." And hung up the phone. He knew I was getting ready to change. He was like, wait a minute, buddy. I put you on this path. I kept you here. I told you this is end game. And here you are, agoras roll through town. And all of a sudden you're going to shift your path because you now feel Shiva. And you're building a new statue. You're getting ready to start digging a brand new well somewhere when you are almost hitting water in this one. He did say it's very common for someone to, right before they hit water, to jump ship. Because I don't want the realization that comes aside.
What was that? What was that? There's like is it a subconscious self-sabotage? Like why?
Yes,
why?
that's what I saw it as. So he saw it as too. He's like, oh, the Vata element in you got a little bit overwhelmed. And I felt that the agora that was sitting on top of that skull, those skulls, there was a power coming off of him. And I felt it and wanted whatever that feeling was him in that moment. And then when I let it go and put my statue of Kali back, I had to sit there and bow in front of him, go, I'm so sorry. She's like looking at me like, you're about ready to go leave this relationship for another one? Really? And I've given you this world that we're in together? I mean, it was like a wife being really, really like, wow, how whimsy are you? Like, geez, I don't know if I even trust you the same way anymore. I had to earn trust back. It was like, that's how big it was. The knife in my hand. I had to call an ambulance because it was pouring snow outside on the top of Wrightwood. I couldn't get in my car and drive and hold onto the wheel. So they had to literally pick me up in an ambulance and take me in there. And when they pulled that knife out, blood just dropped out like an egg. And I'm just sitting there and I was just scolded by my guru and they're stitching up my hand. And I'm like, that's how important it is to not change your path. That was my message. Like, oh, I'm never even going to think about changing my path again. And I never have. And I look back on how dumb was that? That was really, and I'm sitting there, I can't believe the gifts and boons that this goddess has given me in my 30-year dedication to her. But that was like ran into some other girl. Oh no, I'm all flustered now. I might be jumping ship. And he was like, how flimsy are you? Oh, Bhairava, and you got this far with Kali. It was just so funny. And now that's how I am with people. And every time I talk to them, they're doing something different spiritually. I'm like, you're not going anywhere. You're not digging any wells. Spirituality is an identity. You weren't heard as a child, so you're trying to be heard through spirituality. This isn't going anywhere. Your shop's going to close down too. This is for people. Spiritual teaching is for people with longing. People that have longing to get out. If you want out, and you sincerely want out of all this, and you have a path pointing you how to get out of all this, absolutely teach people. You should be in this game, this matrix, trying to pop people out of it. But if you're not longing for some unity of something higher than your own self, get out of it. Your shop's closing down anyways. It's not going to last. And that is absolutely how that's going to work, because we're here to get people out of here, not to teach yoga. And if you have a method to get you out, please teach it. So I chant mantras constantly. I was chanting the Hecate before our talk. I have my plans, but you have to have longing in your heart to get out of here, or you're not sincere here. You have to be able to cry when you talk about spirituality. Ramakrishna said it the best. He said, when I think of Kali, I feel a bowl of tears of longing to unite with her. That has to be somewhere in the nature of a person. That is love. And longing is love in action. My guru said all the time, he said, everybody has love, but not everybody has longing. Longing is love in action, and that is the desire to get out of all of this.
Well, I think some people don't see that yet, because it could be like masked optimism that, well, it's such a beautiful world and I have these children that I love and there's so much beauty here. Why would I want to leave? Like they don't understand it yet. And I remember when I was young, my mother died when I was 12, and she had this, oh, I have it. She had this painting. Let me grab it. So we had this painting. I've shown this one other time on the show, but I mean, there might have been some psychedelics involved. However, she drew this. My mother drew this, and it says,
that is amazing.
It's so cool. Yeah, it's so cool. It says, in the magnifying glass of man's eye, the world looks greater than it is. And there's all this unity, all this art, all this progress, all this confusion. There's words, up there with peace and love. And, definitely a 70s child. I think it was made in 76. And
yeah, that looks like a Buddhist mandala. There are Buddhist mandalas that are sectioned off like that, with different stages of consciousness in each one. That's really powerful.
Oh, yeah, she was amazing. And by the time I really read it and processed it, she was already dead. And when I was young, she died when I was 12. When I was 12, 13, I was going through my own phase. I was, like so much makeup and dark purple lipstick and black and white striped stockings and lunch boxes and everything's fishnet. And, don't see me, see this armor that I've got on of all this really fun. I used to call it my uniform, my little goth uniform. And I didn't feel complete unless I was wearing it. And I later, as I started to let it go, as I got older, I mean, even today, I've got all my lacy fun shit. It's fun. It's fun to dress up and to express. But I was hiding a bit of me. I was having everybody say, look at this, don't look at me. Like, I'm gonna, so much makeup, look at my makeup, don't look at my eyes, right? And so there's a story behind how I finally realized that and let it go. But back to this picture, I thought it was sad when I was a kid. I didn't get it. I was like, wait, what do you mean the world's not great? Why do we think, what do you mean? Like, the world is great. Isn't it great? I'm supposed to be coping with this death and optimistic and hopeful for my life. And then as I got older and I was, starting in 2007 was really when I went on more of a spiritual path. I mean, it started in 99 when I was 18, 19 years old, when I moved to Los Angeles. And in finding my way and finding that path and stopping digging all the holes, as you said, and I like that metaphor or that analogy, it took me a while, Jade, to go, oh yeah, like we need to return home to love, to all of that. And even in I study A Course in Miracles and the idea of ending the cycle of reincarnation, and people have argued with me about it. Why would you want to do that? Why wouldn't you want to come back? Don't you want to come back next time and be a queen or a princess? Like, oh my God, like I have to come back? Yeah, I probably do have to come back. I don't think this is the end, but hopefully we've only got a few left. I don't know.
Mayor Baba, who's my grandfather guru, meaning I never met him, but my guru Bao was his disciple. So, my lineage comes from Mayor Baba. There was a guy that came to see him and said, why would we want to stop reincarnating? Why would we want to stop doing that? And Mayor Baba pulled him up to the 6th plane and then dropped him back down on the planet. And it destroyed the guy spiritually. He said, I've never felt love like that. And Mayor Baba said, there's a day where you live in that. There's a day where that is every day is for eternity. That's the goal. And the guy was like, oh, I can't even believe I even want to exist by myself separate than that anymore. So according to Agora, we were all once in an infinite ocean of love and light, but we were unconscious. And God was this infinite unconscious ocean of love and light, but it was unconscious of itself. And God once had the thought of consciousness, and the dark mother was born out of his navel through the thought of God saying, I want to be conscious. And the dark mother, who then was consciousness, because God had the thought of consciousness, looked at this infinite ocean of love and light, unconscious of itself, and then individualized drops of the ocean, created the web of illusion, which is creation, and started to send the drops of unconscious love through the web of her creation for one goal: to go right back to where you were, but conscious. So we went from unconscious love, we go through the cycles of birth and death, and we return right back to conscious love. So we were once unconscious of the love in us, and then we become conscious and we become one with that. So the importance of gods and goddesses is you have an individual connection to that ocean. That individual drop is like a deity that you are. And you realize yourself as a separate unity in the ocean of oneness. Like Rumi said, a rug. It's one rug, but there are different threads in that rug. And some threads in that rug are a lot bigger than others. And Rumi said it's kind of the lot of some people to accept that there are certain threads that hold that entire rug together, and there's some that are just a part of that rug. He said, but we are all one, but in that oneness, some play larger roles than others, but we go back to that ocean of consciousness fully awake. And we have to understand our humanness in perfection, our godliness in perfection, and then we realize we are one in all of it. Still our own self. I know Kali's my end game. I know the Dark Mother is my end game because I had a master that could see. She's your exit plan. So stay right there. That's your exit plan. You're going to realize that force in your own self as you unify with the ocean of light. But someone else could see the Christ in themselves. Someone else can see the Vishnu in themselves. Someone can see the Muhammad in themselves. It is an ocean of light, but there are different, just like an ocean, different parts of that ocean. That's a family. You are connected to people through that ocean of consciousness and light. And so there are connections that you travel with. There are connections that unify with the end and you see as a part of your own oneness. It's this incredible divine experience we're all having here. And that's the thing, is we have to always understand the divinity of life itself, because it is through the earth plane and its struggles and its suffering that finally open you up to want to know more about the divinity of your own self.
Mm-hmm. It's beautiful. Beautifully said. Just such a gorgeous description of the experience. Truly. It's interesting. There's so many similarities in A Course in Miracles. They call it the tiny mad idea, that we're all at home in perfect love, in oneness and consciousness. And then a tiny mad idea was sparked to go be individual, to go be separate, to have a unconscious experience. And here we are. And now our only job, through forgiveness and realizing the illusion and forgiving the illusion and loving, to return home. We're just trying to get back home. And it's a very, very brief summary of the philosophy, but it's exactly what you described. Just a couple different things, not with the ocean, but with the universe.
And in the end, you realize that the path exists in everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why my guru said, it almost doesn't matter which path you pick, just pick one and stick with it all the way to the end. And he said that really, because the truth is out there in every single path. And so here you are having your own experience with the exact same thing that I just said from an agoric point of view, but we're talking about the same thing. And that is really how paths exist. Is you do have to find that path that is alluring you, that pulls you in, that makes sense. My guru said 90% of people become that song in the day, that bird that's singing out in the day. He said, you're one of those rare birds that comes out at night to sing. That bird that's kind of bothering people when they're trying to sleep. And he's like, what is that bird doing? It's like 3 a.m. He said, that's you. He said, but most people will get realized in the day and be that songbird that sings its praise in the day. You'll be out there at night singing it. And I'm like, okay, that keeps making sense. It's how I feel love in my heart. When I see images of Kali, even I go online just to, you see me reposting all this stuff in India, these Kali things going on. I have never loved Instagram as much as I have in India, because these temples that you cannot find, even by being there, that you have to drive over mountains to go find, are online. And there's these incredibly mystical temples that are online. And I find them and I circulate them around, like, check this temple out in India. And there'll be these hidden goddess temples that if you're actually in India, you might have to get on a bus and go up a mountain for 2 hours to see that temple, but they're there and they're online. And I will post those ones that are really sacred and ancient. And those are the types that I was involved in India. I would find these really ancient Kali temples, and that's where my Kundalini would just start to go up. The Kali Gut Temple in Calcutta, which is this little stone with eyes drawn on it, most powerful Kali temple I have ever seen. It's just a little stone with eyes on it. And then the Ramakrishna temple was right next to that, just a couple miles away. Calcutta is rich with deep Kali worship. It's her city. You can feel it when you're there. And her temples are just not a joke. But yeah, that's my path, is through this dark, crazy goddess. And she's nut. She's like a real nut job. I say it, but she destroys that mind so the true love can be born. And I'm like, yeah, that's just my mom. I'm a mama's boy, just like my guru said. And he said I was rare. He goes, you're rare that Vishnu is your father, and that Christ, the Buddha, and the Krishna and Rama all come from that. But Kali is your mother. He said, generally it's a Shiva Kali dual mix. He goes, you're a unique Vishnu Kali mix. And I'm like, yeah, well, whatever. He got me to a place where I just stopped caring about it. I don't even know if I won't even want you addressing this stuff anymore. It's so far out there and powerful. I want to realize these things in myself, but I have realized that the Christ, the Buddha, the Krishna and Rama, that's my father energy. And Kali, though, that's the mother energy. And when I was in India, because I did come from a little bit of a Christian Mormon background, I did panic when I was in India the first time. And these are other deep stories, and then I'll wrap this one up quick here. And I was struggling with, God, this Kali stuff is deep, man. I'm in it, and I feel it, and I've never felt so at home in an energy. But where is all this with Jesus? It's like that did come up when I was in India the very first time, and I ended up at Mayor Baba's tomb. This is not a joke. And that night I had a dream where Christ was on the cross, and I am at the bottom of the cross, holding and wailing, like those dreams where you're crying at a level you cannot explain. And I even have Christ's blood dropping on me. I did experience Mayor Baba in a lot of that. And Kali comes out of a storm cloud and grabs a hammer and starts hammering him more into the cross. And he looks down at me and he said, without her, I can't do any of this. She's the Holy Ghost. She makes everything happen. And she is the suffering of man. And as she's nailing me to the cross, my light is going into her. And we are liberating millions together.
Wow.
And I woke up and I went and saw Bao for the first time. And he addressed the dream. He knew I had it. He said, it's one. He said, the Father, Son, Holy Ghost is a real thing. You're connected to the Holy Ghost. And that's the Dark Mother. She's everything holy and everything ghostly in creation. Here in India, she's called Brahmi Bhut, means Holy Ghost, means enlightened ghost. That's her. And I went, oh, wow, you just connected me right to this to the Christian element of this, and now I can let it go. And I
There you
dropped
go.
it, and I've never thought about the separation of Christianity and is in Hinduism, Islam. I never thought about separation. I'm like, I'm just a part of that larger picture, that the Holy Ghost is how I get out of this, where someone could get out through the Father, someone can get out through the Son, I get out through the Holy Ghost. And that's her. And then he even went on to show me that in the Bible, most of the references to the Holy Ghost are feminine. There's a few that are masculine, but most of them are feminine, where she is seen in that form. And the Dead Sea Scrolls only mention the Holy Ghost as feminine. But yeah, so it ended the duality, the struggle of, am I doing the right thing? That was trip number one, looking up and I'm wailing at Christ, and Kali shows up out of a storm and nails him right to the cross. And he's looking at her with just total love, like, yeah, we're going to get this done now because she's here. She is
That's
that
amazing.
suffering that's inside of humanity. We connect this way through my advent, and we liberate others through the process. Stay with her. She's not separate from me. Don't worry about separation. It doesn't exist here. And that was the end of it. I never looked back at it, thought, and I'm like, yeah, Christ is my father, no doubt. Kali's my mother. I just am a mama's boy,
I love it. I love that so much. So much. I didn't grow up religious at all. My mother raised us Buddhist, and we went to there's this place in Miami called the Murakami Museum, and we would go every Sunday and we would do our tea ceremony. We would have to wear our kimonos and either our bamboo sandals or our paper sandals, and we would do our full tea ceremonies. And it was beautiful, and I loved the ritual of it, and she taught me as much as she could about it. But my family traditionally is Jewish, and so then growing up learning about Jewish stuff, and I was a rebel at that point, so I said, no, I don't want to go to Hebrew school, and I'm not going to get bat mitzvahed, I'm not going to do those things. But noticing, paying attention to certain things. And I remember I was at like a flea market or something, and there was this 3D art piece of Jesus on the cross, and it was mostly the top half. And when one angle, it's like one of those weird like Halloween things. One angle, he's looking, his eyes are closed, he's peaceful. Another angle, there's all the blood from the crown of thorns, and his eyes are open and he's looking at you if you're this way or this way. And I just was obsessed with it, and I bought it with my own money. And my dad, so Jewish, was pissed, and I hung it in my bedroom, and I was like, I fucking love these sides of Jesus. And he's like, why do you have Jesus in here? I'm like, I don't know, I just like it. And then starting to learn in AP English class, we read the Bible. So then I was learning about, I don't even know which version it was, but reading the Bible, and then getting into all the other spiritual shit, and then of course in miracle stuff. And I was like, everybody's saying the same thing.
Yeah.
All of them. They're all saying the same thing. I love Buddha. I love Moses. I love Jesus. I love Mary. I love all of them, the goddesses and the gods. I'm like, I get to do my practices, and there's different tools. Like, you've taught me different chants, and I use them, and I believe in breaking our karma and being happier and healthier. And to me, they're all different tools to forgive, to return home, to be more loving to ourselves and others. And even if it's outside of a specific thing or a philosophy or a religion, I just love to learn. People just get so hung up on thinking theirs is different or better, or like you said, the 5D shit earlier. And I'm like, we're like what Rumi said, right? We're all just walking each other home, and let's be there. Let's just be in love. Did I tell you that story about the rabbi? I don't know if I've ever told you this story.
I don't. Well, tell me again.
Okay, so I'm in Jerusalem, and I'm on my birthright trip, which if you're born Jewish, you get to go to Israel for free for 10 days or so. And you can do a religious experience, or you can do more of like a tourist experience and see the country. So I chose to do the non-religious experience. So we had a rabbi that was with us periodically teaching us. We would go to Jerusalem. We went to Tel Aviv. We went all over. I stood at the border and just two gentlemen with giant guns, not looking at each other, just opposite sides of the country. It was very intense to just be there and be standing a few feet away from them. That's at that part of the world that, like you said earlier, we could blow this world. We could blow up 3/4 of this world. So much is going on right there too. And anyhow, this rabbi tells us a story. And he says, this little girl came up to him and said, Rabbi, I want to know love. You talk about love all the time, but I can't see love. How do I know love if I can't see it? And he said, well, where is love? And she said, well, it's everywhere, right? But I can't see it. He's like, okay, so it's everywhere. So if love is everywhere, where are you right now? She sat back and thought about it and went, I'm in love. I'm in love. Everywhere I go, I am in love. He's like, that is the truth. Just never forget that truth. You
I
are
don't
not
remember that story, and I love that story.
We're in love.
And that is another way of even summarizing my story about returning to love and consciousness, from unconscious to unconscious, is realizing it's there. You know, we are in it. You know, and there's the agoric path is our shadow self is what isn't seeing it and isn't in it. And so it is making your shadow conscious that we are that love. And that's what agora is. That's why agora will say, don't worry about light. You don't even understand it. Your shadow is in the way of it. So let's work on the shadow and you become infinite love and light. And so he said, only focus on it. I'm like, yeah, that makes so much sense to me. Yeah, it's funny how my guru Bao was the exact opposite. He's like, I only focused on light all the way through. I only focused on the avatar, life after life. It was me in monasteries, me focusing on the Christ, the Buddha, the Krishna, the Rama. I went out through light. But he goes, I'm the songbird that sings songs in the day. You're going to be the songbird that sings songs at night. And he says, it's just the way this whole thing works is how your heart wants to experience the love of all this, you know, and that is the goal and it's the path. What an amazing conversation today, and how deep this is the deepest conversation I think I've ever had on any of these ever.
Well, it's easy to do that with you, and these are my favorite kinds of conversations to have. And this is the heart work, right? This is the real stuff. This is why we're here. This is why we have these platforms and possibilities to show people that it can be so much easier. And there's so many ways to get there, but it starts with them, starts with this person watching right now or listening right now, to just be kinder. You know, earlier when you're talking about Japan and that kindness, that generosity that you have. And if anyone who's listening or watching, and please tell us in the comments and connect, if there's any part of you that ever resists being kind or being generous or being more compassionate, it's inauthentic. And when we are inauthentic, we are off our path. And authenticity is such a beautiful expression of love that we have for ourselves and others. And through our authenticity, we have our path home. We can remember our way home, whether it's connected to how we treat others, what we're doing with our lives, how we express our creativity, our passion, our heart, and just more of that. I want to keep pushing dominoes for more of that, more of these conversations, not just here on the show, but with people at home or at work, talking to each other about these ideas. Fucking argue about these ideas. I don't care. Just like open your mind a little bit.
Yeah. And you are holding an amazing space for this. I even see some of your other shows, and it's like you attract a very specific type of consciousness even to you as a kind of an inner reflection. Yeah, I've noticed that. Yeah.
Thank you, Jade. Yeah, it's cool. You know, it's so interesting because there's so much like about business on this show. I talk so much about entrepreneurship and career and growth and path, but it all comes back to, well, what are we here to do? What are we meant to do? We're just here to love and be loved. And when we are doing more of what we want to do work-wise, it kind of relieves some of that pressure or barrier. I want more people to live on purpose in whatever way. So thank you.
Yep. And you're doing exactly that.
Oh my gosh. You know what I did want to ask you before we go, if we have time, and if not, I'll just cut it there. You mentioned Babaji, and my friend Ingrid, she is in Thailand right now. And she told me and let's connect back to Babaji. She told me when she got off the airplane and she went to Thailand, she just booked a one-way flight. She felt inspired. He's a beautiful poet. And she created this healing process called somatic renewal. And she teaches people somatic renewal and how to physically and emotionally heal themselves. And she decided to go to Thailand just to shift her energy, change it up. And she got off the airplane and she's like, oh my gosh, you don't realize how wound up your nervous system is in the United States until you leave. And then there's this peace and this breath. So you talking about that about Japan, she's talking about it in Thailand. And she sent me a message the other day and she said, I had a dream I was visited by Babaji and he invited me to his cave. I was like, okay, are you going to go? She's like, I'm going to go. I'm going to go to India and I'm going to go to Babaji's cave. I was like, can't wait. And then shortly after, someone who knew her father who passed away, and her father died when she was 12 and she's about 40, 41. It was within like a week or so, Jade. They reached out to her and said, hey, we're doing this trip to India. We're only inviting a few people. We're going to go to Babaji's cave. Do you know who he is? Have you heard of him? Would you like to go? And she was like, oh my God. Yes, I'm going. I don't know how I'm going to figure it out, but I'm going. So I'm curious. I don't know anything about him. And you mentioned him, and I don't know if it's the same person, but my friend is going.
It's not. But
It's
I
not.
love Babaji, the one you're referring to. Kal Babaji is the one I'm referring to. Kal means dark, like Kali, dark Babaji.
Got it. Dark
He
Babaji.
called himself Kal Babaji. He's a dark Babaji. You're referring to Babaji, who is kind of an ethereal master that shows up and affects people on the other side. And I'm very familiar with Babaji. That's why I wasn't going to correct you because I thought you should tell the story. And I also love stories about Babaji. And shows up and has directed a lot of people towards consciousness. So, but yeah, Babaji is a relatively common term. Baba just means father. And so Babaji is even a name that a lot of gurus are called, but I know you're referring to the Babaji that shows up and points people in the directions they need to be pointed. Yeah.
It's fascinating. That's so cool. Well, I just want to share that with you. All right. I guess that's it for now. This or something greater. Such a joy to be with you.
Amazing. Like I said, this is very vulnerable. I said all kinds of things I don't think I've ever shared before. And it's the space that you hold here that makes that feel right. So I'm really, and I'll, of course, be eager to come back on whenever it's ready. I'm ready to go.
Jade, how can people work with you?
I like people to find me on Instagram. Instagram is my favorite use of social media. You can find me on my website, asterianastrology.org, but I prefer you to find me on Instagram under Jade Sol Luna, Jade SOLLUNA, Jade Sol Luna on Instagram. That's where I make predictions. It's where I'm the most active in social media.
All of those links will be in the show notes. Definitely check out Jade's website. He is teaching Asterian astrology classes, and he has books for you to read and study and learn about true astrology, real astrology, and get more into conversations like this. Be sure to connect with me at patreon.com/The Brilliance Method. The only way I'll know if you're loving the show is if you leave a comment, 5 stars, and subscribe.